Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today?
Good.
How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio.
Welcome to First Contact Radio.
To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We
It's
have
time
arrived.
to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is the 19th of June, 2014. Sun sign in Gemini, moon sign in Pisces, transitioning to Aries today. So the first part of the day, we're leaving Pisces, which is a water sign, and then later in the afternoon, 4:26 p.m. West Coast time, we're going to be moving into Aries, which is a fire sign. So we're going from the last sign of the zodiac to the first. So the subconscious mind is dealing with a cycle that's ending and a new one beginning. The end of the zodiac, the new beginning. With the Pisces, we're learning about watery things. We're learning about the spiritual part of ourselves, our inner life. We're learning about faith, believing in the path that we are following. And it relates to the tarot card of the moon, which is that path of the unknown that we walk. The sun sign that we're moving into, Aries, is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a beginning sign, fire, creativity, leadership. Okay, so our subconscious mind is making a transition there. Conscious mind still dealing with communication, the last couple days of it before we move into the next sign. We look over here at some of the aspects. We have the triangle, trine, just a little more than an hour ago. Well, 2 hours ago, the moon, Pisces, expanded into Jupiter. So with this expansion, we're getting an expansion of these Piscean energies, really trusting ourselves, learning that lesson of faith is very important, expanding our spiritual awareness of the world around us. Right about now, we're going to have this moon is going to be sextile to Venus. Sextile is good opportunities. So this is the way in which we express our creativity. Venus is imagination, creativity. So we have Pisces, this water, and the Venus are working together to create a nice little opportunity between the faithfulness, the inner life, that spiritual quality of who we are, and our imagination. So letting it help us to understand a bit more. Our imagination can really do a lot. We imagine and then we bring it into reality. A little bit later, early in the afternoon, the sun, Gemini, and the moon, Pisces, are going to be squaring off against each other. Square is a lesson, so the lesson between that communication and our emotions, air and water. Learning how we express ourselves in the proper way after understanding the emotions and the faithfulness that we attain when we go into the inner worlds. Then shortly after that, the moon sign Pisces is going to be at a square with Gemini, with Mercury, all about communication. And then 4:26 p.m. Aries becomes the new moon sign. And then later this evening, shortly after that, Mercury and the Sun are going to be together in the same sign, Gemini. Gemini and Mercury go well together. They're a matched pair, and so when they're both in the same place. That gives a lot of strength to our communications, our words, things we do, things we communicate. Okay, the numerology for today is the number 5. Here's how we've arrived at that number. 6 plus 19 plus 2001, 4. It's a 6 plus 10 plus 7. That's a 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. Okay, so theosophic subtraction is the process we are using to reduce down to a single number. So let's go look at these cards. Number 5 is the Hierophant. So this is all about the Hierophant, a little bit more insight. Hearing is the function assigned to the Hierophant. The Hebrew letter Va means nail, and also the conjunction and. The ornament hanging from the crown of the Hierophant and the passing behind his ears is a conventionalized yoke. A yoke is something that joins together, again symbolizing union. The Hindu word for union is yoga. The card symbolizes interior hearing or the development of intuition by certain practices of yoga. This is what we call interior hearing, is the real inner teaching coming from our own inner self, your true teacher. That self is represented by the Hierophant. In this connection, we must caution you that the true interior hearing is not the negative lower psychic types of clairaudience. The difference is readily distinguished by the quality of what is heard. Intuition is above reason, but never contrary to it. It never urges you to do an unethical or selfish thing. The pillars represent the law of polarity, or the interplay of the pair of opposites. Their capitals show a ball in a socket pattern and an acorn surrounded by oak leaves. This symbolizes the union of opposites. Design of the wards of the crossed keys is a bell. This symbolizes vibration used in hearing. It is also a hint that sound has a practical value in unlocking the gates of your inner temple. The two ministers who kneel before the Hierophant represent desire and knowledge, as indicated by the roses and lilies on their garments. And then just a little refresher here. It's number 5. Va means hook. Musical note, gematria number 6. It's an earthly sign, Taurus. Okay, so that is the Hierophant that represents number 5. But then today we're also going to be moving into Aries. So let's take a look at the Emperor, Aries. So the fundamental meaning of key 4 is reason. Key is called the Emperor, and the Emperor is one who oversees and controls. This is the basic function of reason, for by it we supervise and control our daily activities. Vision is also attributed to this card and has a close connection with the faculty of reason when we consider reason as insight or mental vision. Practical sight is also meant here, and the orange background is symbolic of the sun's source of the light by means which we're able to see. The mountain represents the fiery activity of Mars and Aries, which are attributes of this key. Aries is also symbolized by the rams on the shoulders and throne, and Mars by the steel armor which the Emperor is clad. 12 points of the ornaments of the helmet are also astrological. The globe is a conventional symbol of dominion. The globe and the cross and the circle and the taw of the scepter symbolize the masculine and feminine potencies of this radiant mental energy or life force. The globe is the purple flaps over his armor hints at rulership, since purple is the color of royalty. Okay, and the other one we have is Gemini, which is the lovers. Discrimination is the key note of the 6th key. Its symbolism graphically portrays sharp differences. The letter Zayin means sword, which is an instrument of cleavage. To this key is also attributed the disposing intelligence, and disposing means literally to pose apart or to separate. In addition to the zodiacal sign, Gemini is attributed to the key. Gemini means twins and is a sign approximately 2 ones next to each other. This gives us a clue of the occult doctrine that all opposites are really but aspects of the one thing and that they are complementary. The title, The Lovers, brings this out even more graphically. The sun is a symbol of enlightenment and the one force which is differentiated into pairs of opposites. The angel represents superconsciousness and the clouds indicate that this is partly hidden from us for our present stage of consciousness unfoldment. The mountain symbolizes attainment. The man and woman are Adam and Eve, are the prototypes of the specialization of life force as male and female. The tree of 12 flames behind the man carries out the idea of discrimination between opposites because it bears the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. In addition to the 5 senses are instruments which enable us to discriminate between one thing and another. The serpent represents the occult force known as Kundalini. Okay, so you can see this is a really good chart. Use this to learn all about what's going on with the cards. This is the, when you take the lessons from the builders of the atom, you get a lot more information per card. That's just a little summary of each one, but you can tell it has a lot of good information. And then again, you always want to compare things to the placement on the tree of life. So we've got the Hierophant here, our numerology. We have Mars we're moving into. We have Gemini. Currently we have Pisces down here. And if you just look at the placements every day, look at the placements of things happening in your lives when you can understand what's going on, this will really help you a lot to understand how to get where you need to go. The current moon phase, we're in the third quarter, 52% of the way full, making its way back down to the new moon. Now that the moon is in the evening, is out of the evening sky, plan some new deep sky hunts with your scope. Says you may know of the splendid globular star clusters M10 and M12 in Ophiuchus. But what about the lesser known galaxies in the northwest? Alright, anyway, moving on from the sky. Mayan Oracle is 11-tone day. 11 tones, the kins are the same, the kin and the guide. So we have human guided by the human. 11 is dissolve, dissolution. Drop sugar or salt in the water and it dissolves to become sweet or salty because it expands, or like when Obi-Wan Kenobi said, if he gets struck down, he'll become even bigger than before, and then he did, more powerful than before. So the phrase for today is I dissolve in order to influence, releasing wisdom. So what we're releasing is, remember, we're in the wave spell of inspiration. So we're going through and releasing all of what we learned here at this phase of this inspiration, this communication. I seal the process of free will with the spectral tone of a liberation. I am guided by my own power doubled. At space weather, solar winds currently at 467.5 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is, well, we've got quite a range here. It says between a 2 and a 5. 2 is quiet, 5 is a storm. This is a chart that goes up to 9, so if we get to the 5 there, we're getting a lot of geomagnetic storm activity. M-class flares dropping down, X-class is dropping down. The geomagnetic storm activity, that's relatively low at the moment, but I'd imagine with some sort of storm activity going on that we're going to experience something different. It says a minor G1 geomagnetic storm circled the poles during the late hours of the 18th in response to unsettled conditions in our solar wind. Alright, so we'll figure out as the day goes on what's happening as we feel its effects. Today we're at a 21 Sivan in the Jewish calendar, and the thought for today is one world. People might tell you when you come to work, leave your spirituality at home. Don't bother us with your peculiar lifestyle, your ethics. Search for meaning. That's all nice, but this is business. This is the real world. Well, there is only one real world, and it belongs to one real God. So that's very good wisdom to consider today. A lot of people want to get on with their lives on a daily basis, and they want to dismiss God from it because they don't think it's so important. It seems kind of silly that someone would want to dismiss the essence of what creates life, but stranger things have happened. All right, UFO news is up next. I'll be back.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. It's Dirk Bradshaw, everybody, and you hear his voice, but one of these days he will reappear back on the show like he did in the early days. All right, let's get over to this. Something seems to have disappeared here. Alright, where does my news go? Is it right here? There we go. Somehow it got moved down to there. Alright, so UFO news, first story, Tokyo. This was Google Earth. Google Earth map, really, a lot of good finds come from here. The end of last month was the date of the sighting. Coordinates if you want to look it up by yourself. Here's another Google Earth UFO that was recently found by someone in Japan. It moves around the building and is followed by the Google car. There are two dark UFOs, one is closer and one further away. It is difficult to make it out, but the UFOs do appear after a while of it moving down the road. Remember, you have to enter Google Street View by picking up this small orange person. And then you just drag them on in. And anyway, there you go. Google Earth. Now we go from there. This is about Area 51. Area 51 at Groom Lake is known as a remote facility of Edwards Air Force Base. The CIA officially called it Nevada Test and Training Range, or Groom Lake Area. Groom Lake. Area 51 is the name used in a CIA document from the Vietnam War. The first official acknowledgement of Area 51 was done in July 2013 when CIA declassified documents from the history and the purpose of Area 51. The declassification was a response to a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005. Continue reading to know some things you may still don't know about Area 51. Okay, here's 5 things to know. 1. Conspiracy theorists, the name. Conspiracy theorists and ordinary people have gotten a lot of possible origin of the name Area 51, and the most popular involves where the facility is located. Area 51 borders the Nevada test site, which is used by the AEC as testing grounds for the nuclear bombs. Mapped as a grid of squares, the NTS is numbered 1 through 30 with a few omissions. Area 51 is not part of the grid but borders Area 15. Many say that the site got its name from changing the order of 1 and 5. Secrecy. While Area 51 has been declassified, people at the facility should sign a secrecy oath, whether military or civilian. All employees and or contractors can't see anything not related to the work at the facility, as the buildings don't have windows. The shortest way to describe it is compartmentalized. It is believed by conspiracy theorists that different teams would work on the same projects at the same time. Every time a test of an aircraft is conducted, officials order employees who are not involved in the activity to stay inside until the test flight is over or when the aircraft returns to its hangar. 3. The F-17. In December of '77, the Lockheed Blue prototype stealth fighter first flew at Groom Lockheed Corporation's Advanced Development Projects was awarded by the Air Force for a full-scale development contract of the F-17. The Lockheed test team at Area 51 received the delivery of the first full-scale development prototype on January 17, 1981. It was designated YF-117A, and test pilot Hal Farley flew it off the Area 51 runway. Hal Farley. I don't think he's any relation to Chris Farley, but you never know. Popular stories say that, this is Janet, popular stories say that 1,000 people arrive and leave Area 51, usually through air travel on unmarked Janet flights from Las Vegas. The second method is a white bus that picks up the local commuters from Alamo, Ash Springs, and Crystal Springs. While the Janet flights can hardly be seen, if it can be seen at all, the white bus usually is seen daily at around 8:30 a.m. in Area 51 front gates. Number one thing is Bob Lazar. In 1987, Robert Lazar made big news across the world with his claim on television that he had been a part of a project that involves an alien technology. He said that there were at least 9 alien spacecraft kept by the government at the base called S4. The base is located near Groom Lake. He said that reverse engineering has been done to alien technology for the use of power production in U.S. military vehicles. All right, so there's some good info on Area 51. Here we have a university confirms the authenticity of a photo. The image of the largest UFO was captured as it hovered over a neighborhood in Brattleboro, Vermont. Too bad there was so little light. This UFO came into view, hovered for a few minutes, and was gone in a flash. The photo has been authenticated by University of Brattleboro Photo Labs. In the comments here, see, to skeptics, should there be anything out there? I still have this image on my camera. I did not place the UFO on the frame using computer. It was the original frame. And well, just a few comments from the poster. But there you go. Alright, moving on from there. This is a story that took place in 1974. The gentleman is now 96 years of age. He tells about his motorcycle being shut down. C.R. Clow said he had a strange encounter with a UFO while riding his motorcycle in 74. He had bought a Honda motorcycle a few months prior to his incident. He was pleased with its performance. Riding the cycle to work one evening at 10:30 p.m., I noticed a very bright light, and my motorcycle engine stopped. I was doing about 50 miles an hour at the time. I depressed the clutch and tried to start the engine several times, but to no avail. After about 15-20 seconds, the light was no longer visible and the engine started, and I drove to work. He said he's convinced that the motor was affected by the interference from the magnetic field of a UFO. He has written about his encounter as well as his philosophy, physics, fusion, and dietary advice. He survived cancer 20 years ago and put all his writings in a book entitled This Is It, A Lifetime of Wondering With and Some Wonderful People and Things. Alright, you can find that book. It's been self-published, and more info on this story. Very interesting. And one last UFO story for today. UFO Digest article, Scott Corrales, Humans or Humanoids? The PEREYRA case. The following case occurred in a major year for Argentinian ufology, as was 1965 flap. The coherence of the eyewitness report and the details of the event place it among the classic cases of close encounters of the third kind, to the extent that PEREYRA insists to this day that he came across Russians on that occasion. Years ago, Jose Marengo, deceased, told me that this one case had been the most impressive of all investigations. At that time, Marengo was an advisor to ONIEF, the institute led by Fabio Zerba. In later years, I had the pleasure of including him in my group and my field research. In 1999, Paco Martinez, a researcher with the Sifu Harris Furious group based in Buenos Aires, told me that he was able to gain access to PEREYRA, and despite 34 years span separating him from the case, was able to retell the entire experience in detail. Something similar occurred with Daniel Lopez of our FAO organization when he was interviewed. Maria Eldia Pretzel in Villa Carlos Paz, Cordoba, regarding a visit by a strange entity in 1968. Case took place in Monte de los Curios, where a monastery stood many years ago. It was located in the Villa La Florida locality of San Francisco Solano, 18 kilometers from the capital Federal. In order to get there, it is necessary to cross a stream that runs under the General Belgrano railroad lines. We can already see the three standards of behavior, or poles of attraction: wilderness, water, and rain tracks. The witness, Ramon E. PEREYRA, 38 years old at the time, enjoyed a good reputation in the area, a hard-working businessman all of his life, married with 2 children, and above all a reliable man when it came to such a significant story as this, which contains no traces of sensationalism or promotional goals. At one time it was the word extraterrestrial mentioned. At no time was the word extraterrestrial mentioned, according to PEREYRA. He had come across the Russians that day. At 8:30 a.m. on July 20th, 1965, the day had turned out to be overcast with a drizzle. The witness made his rounds, delivering milk and bread, as was his custom. Suddenly he saw a sort of luminous parachute fall from the sky. He got out of his delivery vehicle, walked some 500 meters, crossed the stream, and reached Monte de la Curas. He then realized that what he saw descending from the sky was not a parachute. A being dressed in gray, hooded coverall, was seated within an oval-shaped object with a transparent dome, its back turned to PEREYRA. However, 30 meters into the woods stood another being dressed in the same manner, but with the hood removed, allowing him to see its face clearly. The entity, standing between 1.75 and 1.8 meters tall, had binoculars hanging around its neck and a holster on its right leg. PEREYRA was able to make out his belt with a silver buckle and boots made out of what looked like leather. With short blonde back-swept hair, the entity looked like the average person, perhaps a foreign one. As occurs 90% of CE3s, the attitude of indifference toward the witnesses or sudden flight occurred again. The occupant standing outside the UFO was looking skyward with a piece of paper in his hand. Becoming aware of PEREYRA's presence, walked hurriedly back to the object, crossing the human's path. PEREYRA asked the visitor if he needed anything, as he thought the device was a small aircraft. The being did not reply, placing a hand on the vessel's dome, which lifted up, allowing the stranger to sit down, and then closing behind him. There was a slight sound similar to that of an autogenous welding coming out of an exhaust, and the UFO rose vertically, halting 30 meters above the treetop before taking off at high speed like an elongated light. Several days would go by before PEREYRA had told the story to anyone. Alright, there's more to the story here, but that's pretty interesting. Very interesting encounter that he had. That is our UFO news for today. I will be back, and we will continue on with more news and information momentarily. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Let us continue on. So today I thought, the last couple on Thursdays I've been just looking for different types of wisdom to share. For a while I was sharing you the Buddhist wisdom, philosophies. Last week Native American. This week what I felt inspired to bring up is extraterrestrial wisdom. Now we hear this every day when we hear the channeled messages. We'll hear that again today, but I found some other stuff I wanted to share, so check this out. This comes from a site called CosmicHarmony.com. And it says, Wisdom of the Higher Extraterrestrials. Over the years, many individuals have related wisdom shared with them during a contact experience with higher extraterrestrials. Most of those forms of contact involve either a physical contact or a meeting of the awareness, as in mind-to-mind contact. We find in paranormal literature two major categories of physical contact experiences: those that are overwhelmingly fearful and negative, and those which can be considered positive. These negative experiences are usually related to the so-called abduction scenario, characterized by fear, forced examinations, medical procedures, lost time, and lost memory. In contrast, contact with positive ETs usually leaves a feeling of blissful well-being and often involves the feeling of a flow of love and understanding from the ET. However, even positive ET experiences can prove to be fearful for the person who has no context of understanding to make sense of them. And these experiences are often repressed only to be uncovered years later through hypnotic regression. Those who have made contact with positive ETs are often given a message of wisdom to pass along to the remainder of humanity. Besides direct contact, another source of wisdom from higher ETs is through the phenomena of channeling or inner contact. Many individuals who have been centered their awareness in the inner self through meditation or the quieting of the active mind have experienced a soul-to-soul contact with higher ET beings. They may have intentionally volunteered themselves to be conduits for this type of communication, or they may have been selected for purity and accuracy of the channel. In either case, people have recorded the thoughts and concepts that have come through such communication, passing them along to the rest of humanity. This section will present ET wisdom gained both through direct contact and conceptual transfer through selected individuals. Okay, here's one. In his beautifully illustrated book, Soulic Journey, Douglas Taylor tells how his life was changed by a completely unexpected encounter with beings beyond our planet. After a long day of surfing in clear waters of Caribbean, he laid down to sleep. Before dozing off, he began feeling a sort of spinning sensation often felt by people who have experienced ET contact. As he returned to normal awareness from this state, he found himself inside a spacecraft in the presence of 7 extraordinarily beautiful beings. Incredulous and with great amazement, he heard the following greeting as a voice within his mind. Yes, friend, you are truly with us. Now allow your mind to relax, and we will be most happy to shed some light on your present predicament. Douglas Taylor's narrative continues. One particular soul, human in appearance and dressed in a pure white spacesuit, was looking at me with the most intense, penetrating eyes I'd ever seen. He seemed to be able to pierce directly into my mind, and I knew this was no human being in my normal frame of conception. There was a beautiful glowing surrounding these beings, and I noticed a warmth and a tremendous sense of peace. He was told, "Please feel comfortable, my friend, as we are your brothers, and we wish to make you feel at ease, so that you may gain some benefit from this encounter. You are one of many we are contacting in this way, so as to let our presence be known upon Earth, to prepare the people for the future plan that is beginning to unfold. Your people of planet Earth have yet to realize that intelligent life is teeming virtually throughout the universe, in advanced civilizations and levels of development that would completely defy description. The countless billions of stars that appear to your astronomers' telescopes are only a fraction of the overall magnitude of the infinite creation. We come from a planet outside your solar system, the name of which would mean nothing to you. You see us as fantastic beings, bordering the limits of your imagination. In actuality, we are humble participants, riding the life stream and helping our brothers in lesser states of awareness to awaken to their true nature. We are truly brothers to humanity and are looking forward to the near future when your people can accept us and desire us to land our spacecraft on your planet's floor, so that you too can join us as working members of the great cosmic mind." Months after this cosmic experience, Douglas Taylor began to have psychic experiences that completely changed his life. At age 30, having never painted or been involved in creative expression of any kind, I woke one morning with the desire to draw a starship. I began to feel a beautiful, uplifting transcendence every time I sat down to paint. I now consider artistic expression a large part of my life's work. We're all channels on some level, and I will always be our choice whether to soar with the eagles brave and free, or to grovel in the muddy, slime-infested swamps of our many fears and insecurities. Let us awaken from the long sleep and self-imposed limitations and ignorance, and like the chrysalis, transform ourselves into the brilliant butterfly, and flying free, spread our pollen of unconditional love to all who will so partake. Okay, it's just part of his journey, part of his book. I have a couple more here. I'm going to go on to, there's a few more. I'm going to leave those for you to read, but I'm going to go on to this other one here. This is a site called Pleiadians.net. Here we go. Pleiadians.net. And what we have here says, greetings, we are happy and excited that you have finally reached us. What I wanted to go to is this page of channelings. Okay, there's 7 posts. So let's look at the first one. Think it into existence. Excerpts from the Pleiadian channeled book comes The Awakening, realizing the divine nature of who you are. Nothing is impossible. We tell you that as you think, so can you do. Nothing is impossible. As spirit thinks things into being, so can you think things into being. Although we tell you these things, we know that it will take most of you a lifetime and maybe never to assimilate and learn to do what you think is impossible. Although we realize this, we still come to tell you that the way must be prepared, not only for yourselves, but also for future generations. As you gain light and knowledge, so will your children begin to learn, and your children's children and their children. You are changing. It must begin now. As you learn, you must try to achieve. As you do so, your body will actually begin to evolve, and you will pass this future generations not only in a spiritual way, but through the physical as well. Your physical structure through your DNA is continually changing and evolving to accommodate that which happens first in the spiritual realm. In other words, it begins in places that are unseen to you as of yet. Know this to be true. This is how you develop spiritually. Will have a direct impact on your physical body. Your body will grow and develop to accommodate the spiritual. We do not always mean to say that your body will necessarily change its outward characteristics, but its internal structure is where the most profound changes will take place. Learn to fly. Understand that you will not automatically sprout wings in order to fly, but that flying is simply a matter of thought. In time, it will be possible to think yourself right through a wall and flight of stairs in 2 seconds if that's what you want. Look at us. We say this with a smile, but we are not a good example. We speak to you, yet we are not in your physical world. We have not achieved the absolutely impossible by speaking within the hearts. Have we not achieved the absolutely impossible by speaking within the hearts and minds of people? You are evolving. How do we speak to you? It is easy, for we live far into your future and evolve to this point as you begin to do so now. We can simply think our way into other realities. In other words, you exist in our dreams, and all we do is insert ourselves into you as we dream together. Remember, we are your future and you are our past. In our dreams, we exist as one. If we exist as one, then we can function as one. Although we function as one, we are really not one, but separate, because we are the future extension of you. We must tell you that as we are the extension of people in your future, we have become more highly evolved, and it is easier for us to accomplish that which we come to tell you. Okay? And you can see that there's several more messages here for you to read and check out. Look. Knowing the mind of God, planetary beings, fine-tuning your senses. So perhaps I'll bring these up and I'll read those from time to time, some of the other ones. But I want to get on to this interview, part of this interview that took place with Dolores Cannon. I didn't do this interview, but online. And this is Dolores talking again about the extraterrestrials. So let's check out what she says here.
At the same time, because we know we grow from a baby to a child to an adult, and we have experiences in our life where time is passing. How can it all be happening at the same time? They said it's not happening at the same time because Happening means a beginning and an end. It's existing at the same time. It's existing, if that makes it any clearer. The ETs said time is an illusion. They said mankind is probably the only species in the universe that's found a way to measure something that does not exist. Leave it up to us to figure out a way to do something. But they said we'll never travel in space as long as we are trapped in time. And we are trapped in time. One day after the other, 1 week after the other, we have to be somewhere at a certain time. So, this is only an illusion we have created for ourselves. So if you go deeper, you find out all of these lives are existing at the same time. I don't know if that's sunk in yet. I'm going to give you something else that'll be a little deeper. Is this okay? Because I never know how much people can handle, and I definitely don't want to overload your brains. I would say treat it as mind candy. Just an interesting thing. You could take it or not when you leave. Say, well, okay. But at least I'm presenting it out there, what I found anyway. The only way I can handle this stuff is just to say, okay, it's interesting, go on to the next thing. Okay, they said, if everything is energy, you are energy, the floor is energy, the chair is energy, everything around you is energy. It's all vibrating at different frequencies, okay? Now, we all come to crossroads in our lives, don't we? We all come to points when we could go one direction or the other direction. And no matter which way we chose to go, our lives would be totally different, wouldn't they? You know yourself, if I'd married this guy, my life would have been different. If I'd taken this job, my life would be different. You know, these crossroads are very important. Your life could go totally different from each way. When you come to these crossroads, you're thinking about what you want to do. You're trying to make a decision. All right? You decide, I'll go this way. You put energy into each decision. What happens to the other decision that you did not choose to focus on? What happens to that other possibility? What? It becomes a reality also. You have created the other possibility with your mind. In that other reality, another you is living out the other decision. And I always say, well, I wish them luck anyway. It's because that's how powerful the mind is, and when we're creating. We don't go that way, but it comes into existence, it comes into reality, and another you is living that other reality. Gets a little deep, don't it? That's just the tip of the iceberg. Because they said, it doesn't have to be major decisions. Every time you make a decision of any kind, whether to stay home from work or go to work, whether to take the car or not take the car, whether to cross the street or not cross the street, every time you make a decision, it splits again. And another you is acting out the other one. This can really get mind-blowing, can't it? And so finally, there's an infinite number of realities all occurring at the same time. They existing at the same time, they said. And it's only real for you, the one you're focused on at the present time. It'd be very complicated otherwise, wouldn't it? I've had people come to me that say they have dreams that they are living in another city and they're doing something totally different, and it seems so real. And they want to know what was going on. And I was told, that's just another one of them, another facet that's existing, that living another life. And they said, it's better not to look into it. Don't try to find the person because it will only be confusing. Live in the one you're focused on at the present time. So it can get pretty deep anyway. Okay. Now something is happening in my work, and I'm going to get back to the New Earth in a minute, because in the past, for the past 30 years, when I've taken people into past lives, they've always gone back into other lifetimes, found the answers, described the whole lifetime, and, you know, I've written many books about lifetimes these people have lived. That's the way it's always been. This last year, it's not like that anymore. That's what I'm saying. An evolution is occurring in my work, like an evolution of hypnosis. I felt I've taken my hypnosis already to a level that it has never been taken to before, and now it is even going even further. Now when I'm doing the sessions, we go to the point in the session they're supposed to be in a past life. They're not. They're back with the source. They're back in this beautiful light that is the source. And they don't want to leave because it's so beautiful and it's comfortable and it's just such love, they won't want to leave there. Then I say, well, what made you decide to leave? And then they said, the earth was calling. The earth is in trouble. The earth is calling us to come and help. I said, does anybody tell you you have to do these things? Because on the spirit side, you have the advisors that help you decide. Is anybody telling you you have to do these things? They said, no, I feel the call and I must go. Then when they do come, take them forward and everything, they said, they keep saying, I'm here to help. There's something I'm supposed to do, and I'm here to help the people. Now that doesn't always, every time I've asked the subconscious, what's their purpose? What are they here to do? It never says they're here to have a good time and to drink and be merry and run around. It never says any of that. Make a lot of money. It always says they're here to help each other. Isn't that interesting? It always says the same thing. Many, many of these people are being told they have to be healers. They have to be here to heal. They have to be able to help each other because we're going to go through some very bad times. But they're never told their purpose in life is just to have a good time and to play. But in these cases where the people go back to the source, when I get to the subconscious and I said, well, what happened? We were supposed to be going to a past.
All right, well, that's Dolores for today, and certainly there's much more to her interview. She has a lot of stuff online. I'm going to move on. There's an article from N5D. The article is entitled, Is Fate Predetermined? It's by P.L. Chang. Some people say fate is like destiny because we cannot change it. I say people who believe that they cannot change fate lack the knowledge and wisdom to understand what life and reality are. Let us explore the difference between fate and destiny so that we can come to understanding of what fate is and if fate is predetermined. The definition of fate is that you can change it through perseverance and hard work, whereas destiny is predetermined, therefore it cannot be altered. Through many years of studying, the answer to the question that concerns, is there such thing as fate or destiny? The answer to this question that concerns the meaning of fate and destiny, I will need to explain to you how the future works. Through many years of studying spirituality and science, and I'm not talking about religion-based spirituality and dogmatic science, I found many secrets about how reality works. And which have allowed me to find answers to some of the most fundamental questions. If you want to understand how reality works at the most fundamental level, read my earlier articles. There's links here, understanding the nature of magic of nature and embracing it by making life happy, fun, and enjoyable again. Alright, the future is fluid-like, not stone-like. In other words, the future is not written in stone. However, there is an exception. I will explain that exception in the last section of the article. The past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously or at the same time. From our perspective, the past is something that has already happened. The present is something that is happening, and as you read the article, like the past, the future is something that has already happened too. However, the future has infinite possibilities. Remember, the past, present, and future are all happening at the same time. If you understand how reality and fate work, you need to understand that the true nature of time is simultaneous. How is this possible, you may ask? Because time behaves like an illusion. It can speed up or slow down. More importantly, time is not linear. This is where most modern scientists fail to understand, which is why they have such a hard time understanding how reality works. I have a video here for you to check out. It's 24 minutes. It says that video explains how reality works in a good degree, so check it out. Take of it what you will. Scientific studies have concluded that when you travel very fast, you age slower. As you approach near the speed of light, the slower you age. This proves that time is not constant. Have you ever noticed a dramatic experience such as a car accident where time slowed down and you seem like your life flashed before your eyes? Time slows down because your senses become hypersensitive during a dramatic experience, which allows you to process information faster than normal, causing time to slow down. It is important to understand that time is not linear but simultaneous. The reason we experience time in a linear fashion is due to the fact that we have not evolved enough to the point where we can experience time in a simultaneous state. At our current level of evolution, experiencing time in a simultaneous state would be very chaotic to us. We as human beings still have a lot of evolving to do. By experiencing time in a linear fashion, it allows us to experience life in a way that we can understand so that we can evolve and one day become creators ourselves. Creation gave you its most precious gifts when it created you. These priceless gifts are love, thought, and consciousness. What is love? Well, love is not just a feeling. At the deeper levels, love is a harmonic, conscious energy that attracts everything into oneness. It is a form of energy that always is vibrating towards balance and harmony. When people are attracted to each other, it is mostly because their energy resonates. When their energy does not resonate, they lack the chemistry to attract. Love is the energy that holds the cosmos together and is one of the fundamental things that motivates creation to create things. What is thought? One of the most powerful energy forces in the cosmos is thought. This force is so powerful that it has the power to manifest energy into matter. Physical manifestation is nothing more than an end result of focused thought. Here is an excerpt from my book, Starodime, about the power of thought. Thought is a conscious energy that has the potential of thinking within and upon itself, giving us the ability of free will. It is needed to focus everything into existence. Most of us do not realize that when we use our thoughts, we are preparing energy to be manifested into matter. In other words, we are creating our reality. We cannot see our creation being instantaneously manifested in front of our eyes because of the restriction of linear time. The idea of time being linear is an illusion and is only true form from our perspective. As human beings, we have not yet evolved enough to handle the amount of data that comes from experiencing time in a simultaneous state. In our current state of evolution, experiencing time simultaneously would feel very chaotic to us. The fact that we have thought is an indication that we are very powerful beings and have the power to create. And what is consciousness? Consciousness is a creative energy force that exists in all things. In essence, consciousness is an informational field of awareness and feedback that gives you a sense of self. This informational field is conscious of itself and is made of subtle energy. It is a field of pure potentiality. Thus, it has infinite possibility and creativity. Through the power of consciousness, vibration and frequency are achieved. Okay? It says consciousness uses vibration and frequency. If you think back to the Kybalion, remember the ideas of light, frequency of energy, how it moves. There's a lot more to this article. I'm going to jump to the end. It says the concept of destiny and fate is society's way of controlling you and preventing you from ever evolving to the spiritual being that you are capable of becoming. Remember, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are your unalienable God-given rights. Do not allow destiny or fate to give you the illusion of taking away your unalienable rights. So live your life with dreams, passion, inspiration, and laughter, and live it the way you want, instead of allowing people to tell you your fate is predetermined and that you should therefore accept it and suffer. Creation gave you the precious power of free will. Use it wisely so you can change your fate and be happy in life. All right, it's all good insight there. If you can, just think back to the teachings and the books that we've learned from, the Kybalion, which really teaches us a lot about how we manifest into the world, the teachings from the life and the teachings of the masters of the Far East. So it's really all saying the same thing, even when you get to the basics of the Tree of Life, the Tarot, Kabbalah, the messages we're hearing, how we manifest. It's just a reminder over and over and over again until one day we get it, till one day we truly understand. And in the meantime, we're all just practicing bits of this information and this creating on a daily basis in our own lives, in whatever ways that we are able to do. All right, so that brings us to a message for today, our channeled message, and today comes to us from Lady Portia. To check out what Lady Portia has to say. Here we go.
Initiation to Light Body Crystalline Structures.
Conveyed on 16th of June, 2014. Message from Lady Portia, Mayan Portia LaFont.
Precious hearts. We are being initiated into the higher levels of our being and light, where the intrinsic parts of our being are socializing and co-creating with the pristine and crystalline structures of our new self. This is called our renewed self, as we are bathed in the incoming light and with codes that restructure our whole self and our embodiment into a deeper awareness, a more evolved consciousness, and an entirely different level of existing with regards to our vehicle embodiment. Waves of integration along with waves of immersion into light are bringing our focus on the merging again with our higher levels, our I Am Presence, our Solar Christ and our Christ Self. These initiations are assisting us in the re-embodying of our Christ and I Am consciousness so as to execute the restructuring of our light templates to be able and emanate the pristine crystalline light body into which our vehicles and consciousness are changing. As everything takes time, processes and levels, this is not different, and because we are truly dealing with a physical presence here, our vehicle, it is important to focus on this process by allowing, integrating, and going through the initiations that the energies and beings from on high are assisting us with during this process. It requires patience, diligence, balance, focus and awareness of a firm undertaking where you are being asked to surrender in love and with love to the ongoing flow of the time and space continuum. Some might begin to experience their true divine nature as a source, although it will be as a fractal of that source, to give you a taste of what is to come and to allow you to already adapt to that frequency of your own being in order to avoid becoming overwhelmed. Focus and attention are needed in order to stay grounded and balanced through this all, as the body is going to experience many shifts in order to cope with the incoming energies, that allow one to continue their journey in a renewed structure of their essence. The crystalline structures of our vehicle are under tremendous pressure in the sense that they are growing and willing to come out and play, in order to be experienced by the human consciousness. We are speaking of a whole new level here, where you will find large scales of incoming light being focused on your presence and vehicle here, and where you must sustain a presence in your heart at all times to be able and grow further in that experience of your own crystalline structures. The initiations into the light vehicle and into the crystalline body go in waves of vibrational consciousness, where you shall become more aware of your more pristine structure, and in that moment a need arises for less food and more light, for taking deep breaths and drinking lots of pure water. We are given the time to assist our body restructuring and to grow in this process. The initiations are being given by our own higher selves as well as by the masters and angels of light who are familiar with these structures, to be able and assist us all in this grand metamorphic process. Some might already realize and experience their own crystalline blueprint and will find themselves on top of the waves, riding those waves to truly embody some particles and levels of that process and experience how it is to be that crystalline light body, although it might also be in waves and short periods of times, of seconds, to be able and get used to this. The higher templates of our bodies are truly descending in a way of merging again with our auric fields and our heart field as it becomes your resonance, your vibration. As they say, vibration matches vibration, so you adapt to that vibration and that consciousness you emanate, and so you come to embody this and become this as we speak. This can be a time of turbulences and major shifts where there is very little room in between to recover, as it were. This is so to initiate you into this reality and energy, where everything is a constant flow of vibration, to which you adapt and vibrate along with. This may be experienced as becoming more sensitive, and truly high experiences of refined vibrations cross your path, where you gain the understanding that vibration is what you represent, and so you attract that which you are. As the leveling up occurs, the old and lower templates are becoming more and more dysfunctional, and they are destined to dissolve as no one gives attention to them anymore, as we transcend those layers of illusion, and become aware of our truth equals our essence. Now more than ever you will find yourself in degrees of initiations for the light body Merkaba, in degrees of adaptation as you come to embody this more, as well as in degrees of full transcendence, as, once you become that light body, it will be inevitable and even desirable for your energy field to let go of the old layers and energies. Be proud of who you are, where you come from, and what you represent in this lifetime, as it is so immensely important to love yourself by heart. It is your heart that is yearning for peace, understanding, and allowance to move beyond the concepts of time and illusion. You all are great bearers of light, and I am so proud of you all and immensely grateful for your hearts.
Lady Portia Meline Lafont.
Alright, good message. It sort of ties in again with all the other messages that we've been learning and experiencing. So they all connect, don't they? They certainly do. So I think it's awesome that there's so many messages out there, and I know that there's a lot more that are available, but they all seem to say the same thing. So let's go our meditation for today. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. Imagine yourself on planet Earth, moving through life. And as you move through life, you begin to contemplate the world that is communicating to you. And as you experience the world that is communicating to you, and you listen closer, you begin to hear the messages coming from every direction. From the sun, from the air, from the water, from the plant life, and from the animals. Everything around you has a message. Some of the messages are more intense. Others are very simple. And they all talk about the same process of evolution and change. And then as we listen even closer, we hear, amongst the whisperings of the wind, messages from space brothers and sisters, those that surround the planet at this point in time, monitoring the human condition. And as we listen to these messages, we find assurances that we have allies looking out in and watching out for us. And as we understand the guidance that we have all around us, and the messages of how to evolve being shared with us, we find ourselves comforted by the wisdom that is being provided to us. And so we move through life just learning how to listen to the messages all around us, and to differentiate from the ones that are important and the ones not so much. For just as there are those voices out there that want to provide us with good information. There are also those out there that like to play jokes and tricks. And we need to learn to tell the difference between the two. The ones that are out for our benefit and the ones that are just goofing off. And so as we listen closely with our mind and with our heart and with our being, we begin to understand all of the different voices. And understand those that we should listen to and those that we ignore. So as you go through life today, through the world, just imagine yourself tuning in to the communication that is coming your way. From the people you meet, from the things that you see or hear. Whatever your experience is today, just experience it from the standpoint of the universe communicating to you. And just play that game with life. So imagine yourself walking along the journey, your subconscious mind continuing to play this game with life. Will we bring our conscious mind back to the present moment? 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is our show for today. So just go out in the world today. Have some fun. Just kind of play with life. Experiment. Just imagine everything around you is out to communicate with you. And just see what you learn from it. See what you learn from it. Employ the ideas of the energies of the day. Tie those factors all together. The numerology, where the planets and the stars are. Don't look at these as situations that rule over you, but situations that help just guide you to understand what are the energies around you. And just see how your day goes through those experiences. And I bet you'll find at the end of the day that it will be something very purposeful and beneficial to you. So have an awesome day. Keep loving each other. I love you. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Thanks a lot. Peace. I'm out of here.